there. Welcome. So glad that you're here. Another episode of the Nonprofit Show. Today is one of our favorites. It's Ask and Answer. And you might have noticed that on the screen, it actually says Fridays. And I did that because Julia's gone today. So when the cat's away, the mice will play. And I do love that our Fridays, Friday Ask and Answered, are underwritten exclusive sponsor by Fundraising Academy at National University. So thank you so very much for that. Tony Beall joins us. He's the Senior Director, Relationship Center for the Fundraising Academy at National University. Tony's not new. He's been with us for a while now. We are so grateful to deepen our relationship and partnership with Fundraising Academy, as well as Tony Beall, and just honored to have you back here and to be spending our Friday together. I'm Jarrett Ransom, your nonprofit nerd, CEO of the Raven Group. And again, we are always so very honored to have the ongoing support, the investment, and truly the trust, because these are unscripted. I like to remind people that. But thank you to our presenting sponsors that include Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, Fundraising Academy at National University, again, where Tony's joining us from. Also, Be Generous, your part-time controller, staffing boutique, nonprofit thought leader, as well as the nonprofit nerd. These companies keep us going and growing, but they're here for you. They're here for your mission, truly. So their goal is to elevate your mission. So we encourage you to check them out. They all have some fantastic services that they provide, and they've been on with us, many from the very beginning. If you missed any of our episodes and you want to check them out, you know where to find us by now. Roku, YouTube, Amazon Fire TV, as well as Vimeo. But wait, there's more. We're also podcasting, so you can listen to the Nonprofit Show wherever you stream your podcast. So you can queue us up there as well. And I have a little funny story, Tony. I was talking to my son the other day, and he's a big YouTuber. And I was like, can we just not watch YouTube? Like, I'm so tired of YouTube. And he's like, well, you're on YouTube. And I said, great. You want to watch the Nonprofit Show channel? We can watch that. Turn that one on. He didn't bite, but it's always fun. So Tony, again, welcome. Tony serves as the Senior Director, Relationship Center, Fundraising Academy at National University. That's a lot of words.
It's a lot of words.
I feel like it's getting longer and longer, but tell us a little bit about you, Tony, and about the Academy.
Sure, happy to, Jared. And again, I always say this, it is such a pleasure to be here. It's always great conversation and so much fun to join you on the Ask and Answer episodes. I am a big time YouTuber, so I watch the Nonprofit Show on YouTube. That is how I access all of the great episodes that you provide. And so, yeah, I'm always on YouTube. So I can understand that. I can't even think of the word, but yeah, I'm stuck on YouTube all the time. But again, it's pleasure to be here. So National University is a veteran-founded institution. So it very important day today for our organization in recognition of veterans. But yeah, a veteran-founded institution celebrating 50 years of higher ed service to students. So I, like you said, I serve as the Senior Director for the Relationship Center, and under that umbrella is the Fundraising Academy. I've been working in the nonprofit sector for over 30 years now, and became connected with the Fundraising Academy and the cause-selling curriculum as a trainer here in South Florida back in 2018. And again, became very passionate about the curriculum, saw its value and how emerging leaders and folks new to the nonprofit sector could apply the strategies in the day-to-day work that they were doing and see the results from that. So super excited about it, very rewarding work. And just honored to be one of the messengers for the Fundraising Academy and really kind of send cause selling out there into the world.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And Mui joined us yesterday, and in fact, a couple of days this week, and he referenced the book. And I'm so grateful to have a copy of the book as well. Pearl and your team sent that over to me. It's a fantastic book. Talks, all about the Academy and cause selling education. So thank you for that, Tony. So grateful to have you here. So you know how this works, but for many of our viewers and listeners, I'm just going to assume that maybe this is your first time joining us for this episode. we have questions that have come to us from you, our viewers, our listeners, so our audience around the globe. We saved them for our Friday, also lovingly called Friday. I will read them aloud, ask Tony to go ahead and answer them, and then I might add to them depending on where the conversation goes. But Jeffrey in Los Angeles, California, is going to kick us off today. We are getting ready to recruit a new group of board members, and some of us think that we should limit board service that our prospects can serve on. For example, new board members can only serve on 2 other nonprofit boards if they're serving on ours. What do you think about this, Tony?
Well, first, Jeffrey, thank you for participating in Ask and Answer Friday and sending in your question. We're grateful to have it. My immediate thought, Jared, is what is the expectation of your board members? What role do they serve the organization? Because we know, again, 501c3 is a tax status, not a business model. And so boards need to be structured in the way that best supports the community that your organization is serving, best supports the mission. And so in some cases, that means a board of directors where you have to roll up your sleeves, you're in it, you might be facilitating some of the programs and services. You may be really, really in it. And that's the kind of board member that organization needs. Other organizations are looking for board members that are really there to serve in more of an advisory capacity. And some of those don't necessarily have a give or get requirement that other boards might have. So I think first I would ask myself, what is it that I expect of the board member? And that would help me determine whether or not I would think that they could fulfill that obligation if they were serving on more than 3 boards. Because we all know those folks that serve on 10 or 12 boards. And I often think, oh my gosh, not only is there that massive time commitment, but let's say if even 50% of those boards have a give or get policy for their board members, that's again a heavy lift for someone that's serving on many boards. So that's my initial thought, Jared, around that is, I don't see any problem with having that requirement of your board members if it suits the type of board member that you're looking for and what your expectations are.
And I think that's very valid. I love that that's how you answered it, is to think of the expectation of the board member and to realize that all boards are very different. We've heard someone say on the show, once you know one board, you know one board. They're all
so true.
And like you said, Tony, there are some organizations that, to be on their board, it's a very working board and it takes a lot of time, roll up your sleeves, dig in the dirt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's others that might be at a maturity level, perhaps they only meet once a quarter, and you're really serving as more of an advisory and a fiduciary agent, but not so time intensive. And so I like that you said, let's talk about the expectations. And I really would, Jeffrey, hold it to if the board member, for any board member, once they fall short on their expectations and what they have signed that they are committed to doing, attendance, any of those deliverables, even that give or get, if they're starting to fall short in what they committed to do, that's when you have that conversation. And when I say you, it's your board chair. I don't think it should come from the staff, but I really do think, there's so much good to come from serving your community and even nationally, internationally, and other ways. And there's so much collaborative spirit that might come from that, as well as best practices. So I see it, I think, as what you were saying, Tony, it's not a bad thing to serve your community in other ways. There are people that live their life solely through civic engagement. And I also find if you know a board member, they're typically serving on more than one board.
For sure.
So that civic engagement runs deep. But
yes, it does.
Jeffrey, we hope that helped, not a black and white answer, but hopefully it gave you a little bit of advice on how to best move forward. So yeah, I think that's good. All right, Joseph from Atlanta, Georgia. We have a COO who thinks that our team should be wearing branded polo shirts while working. This includes work from home and on campus, no matter the location. This is causing some heartburn within our staff, and we could use some advice on this.
So can you buy Pepto-Bismol with your health savings account? I'm not really sure.
I don't know either.
But that's what I first thought of here.
I know, the heartburn.
The heartburn. Oh my goodness. As if there aren't enough other things related to the work in this space that cause heartburn. So Joseph, thank you for the question, and thank you for the way in which you phrased it. For a little bit of a giggle there. I'm going to make an assumption, Jared. Would you agree? It sounds like this is something new, that perhaps this is something new that's being implemented. So my first question would, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like the decision's already been made, but I would question, what problem are we solving in implementing this? There may be, with the current landscape and work from home, maybe some team members, or there's a perception that team members have lost their connection to the identity of the organization. They no longer have a connection to the brand or to the mission. And so maybe perhaps the COO, pardon me, is thinking that, the branded polo shirts will help connect them to the identity of the organization. I could see that perhaps as being a problem that's being solved in implementing this. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fan of it because I think that attire is part of how people show up as their authentic selves, and it allows a level of freedom and creativity just in the way in which you dress that gets restricted when we're asking folks to wear a uniform.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I can't help but come to this from the lens of a parent who has a child in a uniform school. Right. And I remember as a child thinking, I don't want to be in a uniform for all the reasons that you described, Tony. Like, I want self-expression. I want freedom of personality. But what I can tell you from the other side, it makes our morning so much easier.
I've heard that.
This is what you wear, period, end of conversation. Excuse me, one thing I have seen during the pandemic, Joseph, is a lot of like lax clothing, right? And so I know we talked a lot about yoga pants and athleisure, just really casual kind of clothing. And off record or offline, Tony and I both said, if we didn't have the show today, we would have no makeup and you would have a ball cap on, right? But we show up for the occasion. And I have seen a lot of organizations, the staff members, really downplay how they're showing up for the occasion. So I think it goes back to your employee handbook. What is your dress code? What is appropriate? And then for us in fundraising, I don't know that I'd always feel comfortable in a branded polo because I would want to be dressier than that, So I think there's a time and a place for these branded polos. But I think moreover, Joseph, going to Tony's answer, what is the solution this is providing? So what is the problem the COO has identified, and how might the branded polo shirts solve that problem? And I think maybe there's a combination there. And it doesn't say in here, but I do hope if these are required, they're also being provided by the agency. Right? They're not being purchased from the employee. It has to be provided from the agency. So there's a lot, I think, to unpack there, Joseph, and I appreciate, like Tony said, you bringing this to us, the conversation. I would go back to the handbook to see, what is our dress code, and then also see about those branded polos, if there's a time and a place, and then maybe if there's another time and place to wear something else, for the occasion or for the responsibility. Because if we go to, I don't know, let's say, any of these community events and we're wearing a polo shirt, we might actually stand out as opposed to people wearing, their suits and dressed to the nines.
Right, exactly. And Jared, our response to this question makes me think about the last question where you said, sorry, our answer isn't so black and white.
Right.
It's not so cut and dry.
Yeah.
Uh, and when I reflect on previous opportunities to be on Ask and Answer, uh, I'm not sure that there are very many opportunities to give a very precise answer, just because of the nature, I think, of the work in the nonprofit sector and all of the variables. And when you think about relationships and personalities and, and trying to uh, sometimes, create a backstory to the questions, like you're trying to fill in some of the blanks because you don't know the whole picture. A lot of times we are kind of stuck giving this kind of gray answer,
Yeah.
but hopefully enough to where the folks that are submitting the questions, we're giving them some additional, food for thought and things to think about as they come to their own conclusion and their own decision.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for that. And I think too, it's bringing more to the table for conversation,
Mhm.
and to better understand. And I think the more we understand, the more we can position that and communicate that with our staff, which is so important. So,
Yes.
okay, Taylor has a question for you, Tony. This is a question
Okay.
for Tony Bell. How long did it take you to master the cause selling program? I'm working on this program for my own advancement and could use a goal or endpoint. Basically, when will I know I am good at this? I love this question.
I do too. So Taylor, thank you. And I'm glad that you're investing just in professional development and professional learning. So, kudos to you and high fives for that. And then, equally excited that you're leaning into cause selling and the concepts of cause selling. So super excited to hear that you're doing that. Uh, Total transparency, don't tell anyone. I have not I have not mastered cause selling. And I don't know that I will ever master cause selling, because I feel like if I ever get to the point where I feel like I have mastered it, then I'm going to get at a point where I'm complacent and no longer learning from it. Again, kind of going back to, the gray space and the answers. One of the reasons why I don't think I've mastered it is because every relationship is so unique and so different. And so the way in which we implement the strategies in cause selling and the way that we navigate through the cause selling cycle is going to be very different for every individual that we're engaging with. Not only the experience, but the time that we invest in each one of the steps or phases of cause selling is going to be very different. But how I felt as I was introduced to this curriculum, really started living and breathing it, and really where it is part of me at my core. Some of what I started recognizing was a heightened sense of empowerment and confidence in the work that I was doing. So I really felt more empowered and more confident in the process and in the relationships that I was building and the way in which I was navigating the relationships. Of course, another a good measurement is increased donations. So, investing time in the right individuals, through the cycle. And so, increased donations was one way that I kind of gauged whether or not I was mastering cause selling. And the other thing too was, is retention, is donor retention, and seeing an increase in donor retention as my stewardship skills were enhanced through learning more about, cause selling and the importance of stewardship. So that would be my answer, Jared. I don't think I've mastered it, but how I feel like I've learned and grown and how I feel, basically, when will I know I'm good at this, was through those things that I recognized in my work. Again, that's heightened sense of empowerment, feeling really just good about the work, and then seeing the results of it through increased donations and increased retention.
Yeah. And that confidence level, like you said, that to me really spoke to me when you said that. So Taylor, I can imagine, that you're like, okay, when will I know I've arrived? And what I'm hearing Tony say is it's a constant process. And I'm right there with you, Tony. I am a lifelong learner. I'm always looking to get to that next level, always looking to grow my resources and my toolbox, as we say. And the confidence, the empowerment, as you said, it comes uniquely with every constituent, every relationship that you get to encounter. So thank you for that, Tony. And your secret's safe with us.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, it's only blasted on, pretty much every streaming channel, but we'll make sure, it doesn't get out far.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm leading into transparency. It's an important part of this work.
Good. Absolutely. I love that. Well, Taylor, best of luck. I hope that, the advancement in your career serves you well, and would love to hear how you're coming along in the process. I think it'd be really cool, Tony, to hear how Taylor's feeling more empowered and confident.
Yeah, and I just wanted to, and I'll say, I'm not trying to do a shameless plug, but just in case Taylor hasn't seen it, our learning portal. So if you go to, fundraising-academy.org, you'll have all of the webinars that have been done and resources there, but you'll also have access to our portal, which I believe is mylearningportal.org. Yep. And all of the cause selling content is available there in a really robust and fun to navigate learning portal, Taylor. So in case you don't know that exists, that'll help you along your cause selling journey.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a great plug. It was necessary. Okay.
Thanks.
Name Withheld has our final question for today from Santa Fe, New Mexico. We are going to announce the retirement of our CEO and have a new CEO coming on. She is not an internal hire, and she is coming from another part of our state. How long do you think the current CEO should stay on, advise, and welcome her into the community before he leaves?
Yeah, it's a great question. My initial thought is that the primary role of the retiring CEO is to help build a bridge with individuals, corporations, right? Is to help navigate the relationships and make introductions for the new leader that's coming into the organization. That is what I see as the primary reason for the retiring CEO to stay on maybe for another 30 days. Because my assumption is that you have hired top talent and you have a individual coming in with lots of ideas and an understanding of the community that you're serving or the area in which you support. So get out of the way, let them come in and do the work that they've been hired to do, but make sure that the relationships that are important to the success of the organization are not disrupted, and that those connections are made before the other CEO goes out on their 90-day cruise.
Yeah. I'm with you. This is a solid question. Really good question.
Really solid.
Succession planning is big in our community. It should be even bigger in conversation, and succession planning at all levels, I think, is really, really important. I serve, as you know, Tony, as an interim executive leader, succession leader, and I serve in a couple of different roles. And when it comes to the CEO role, what I like to say to my client is, I'm not staying on, right, to onboard essentially the new CEO. He, she, or they, again, we're hiring them at that level. I can stay to assist them, but the reins are in their hands, right? Like, you no longer call on me. I'm not the CEO. You no longer ask me for my opinion. Like, you have to hire and entrust the organization and their decisions with the leader in which you've chosen. That I feel very strongly about. And I think there actually, this might not be popular opinion, can be some damage done when a former CEO stays on, I think that's how we continue to do the same old, and that definition of insanity. Well, this is how we've always done it. So I just anticipate that you're going to continue doing this marathon the same way I ran and trained the marathon. And I don't subscribe to that. I'm a big disruptor when it comes to that. And for that reason is a big reason why I say, thank you. It is time to move to the next leadership. But I also feel that there's a lot of this transition and communication that can take place prior to the person coming on, right? And this comes with a solid communication plan, which should also be baked into your succession planning. And I think that goes for a board chair. I think that goes for anyone at that executive level. And then I also firmly believe when it comes to the donor database and relationships, there should be multiple layers of relationships and not one person should hold and own any given relationship. So you can tell I could stand on the soapbox for a while. But I really, really just, again, I'll finish this up, but I really want you to trust the leader in which you've hired to do well. And as you said, Tony, like we're hiring competent people. Let them do what they're hired to do.
Right. Well, and it's really important, again, that you brought up succession planning. I'll go back to the phrase I say all the time, I didn't create it. We hear people say it all the time. 501c3 is a tax status, not a business model. So, succession planning is a best practice and something that every organization, should be considering and should have in place.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to how long do you think the current CEO should stay on, advise, welcome into the community, I think every organization should have a top leader partner list, who are those key stakeholders? Where are they? How are we related to them and connected to them? And I think that should be an ongoing, key information piece within our organization so that we know who we are doing business with. And again, just those top key stakeholders.
Absolutely.
That's it. I'm stepping off my box.
Good
but
thing
that
that
was a
wasn't
good question.
Good thing it wasn't the first question.
We would still be going on it. I know we would still be going on it. But thank you. These are fantastic questions. We saved them again to answer on them with an expert at Fundraising Academy. Today we have Tony, and just so thrilled to have you back here and to join us today on Veterans Day when we realize many of our followers are off, and I hope that you're enjoying a much needed relaxing time. But you can find us on the recordings. But I do want to thank our sponsors that allow these conversations to continue. Yeah, thank you to Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, Fundraising Academy at National University, Be Generous, Your Part-Time Controller, Staffing Boutique, Nonprofit Thought Leader, as well as the Nonprofit Nerd. And a big round of applause to Mr. Tony Beall, Senior Director, Relationship Center at the Fundraising Academy with National University. Again, so grateful. And I had no idea that National University was veteran founded. So that's a great fun fact for today.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, hey, you provided us so much insight. So grateful to have that from you, Tony. The portal is where it's at. So let's definitely, remind our viewers and our listeners to check out the Fundraising Academy website. Actually, let me pull up your card again here so that people know where to find it. Fundraising-academy.org for those of you listening. Hopefully you're on a walk and podcasting us. But yeah, check out the online portal, the learning portal that Tony mentioned. Fantastic. There's so many resources. The YouTube channel for Fundraising Academy is fantastic as well. So fundraisingacademy.org is where you want to check out. So
great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for joining us today. Thanks to all of you for joining us today. And again, we wish you a very restful weekend. We'll be back here on Monday. And until then, please stay well so you can do well. Thanks, Tony.